All right, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling a book with a title that pulls no punches and a promise that could change everything. No Excuses, by the legendary Brian Tracy.
So yeah, we're getting into the heart of Brian Tracy's work on self-discipline. The whole idea here is to figure out how we can all stop making excuses and, finally start tapping into what we're really capable of. Now, the book kicks off with this huge question. And think about it. Have you ever just looked around and wondered, why do some people seem to get so much more done? They seem happier, they make more money, even though we all have the exact same 24 hours in a day. What's their secret? Well, according to Brian Tracy, the answer isn't what you'd think. He says that for something like 80% of the population, the reason we don't succeed can be traced back to this one single imaginary place. He calls it Someday Isle, and it's basically this fantasy land we all visit in our heads. It's the land of good intentions, where we tell ourselves, someday I'll start that business, or someday I'll get in shape. Sound familiar at all? And that's the trap, right there in a nutshell. It's this mental vacation spot where we dream about all the things we know we should be doing, but we never, ever actually get started. It's the land of, I'll get to it later. And pretty much everyone who lives on Someday Isle has the same problem, a really bad case of what he calls excuse-itis. It's this habit of making up these super detailed, elaborate excuses for why we're not doing anything. And Tracy calls it a disease, one that's absolutely fatal to your success. So what do we do about it? Well, this leads to a really powerful call to action. Stop using that amazing brain of yours to come up with reasons not to do something. As Tracy says, losers make excuses, but winners make progress. The very first step is to vote yourself off the island. Okay, so if excuse-itis is the disease, then what's the cure? Well, according to the book, the entire secret to unlocking a great life, it all boils down to just one word. But wait, before we get to that one word, you need to know what it's not. It's not about where you came from, or if you have a fancy degree, or even if you're the most talented person in the room. I mean, think about it. Millions of people have overcome way worse situations than you or I have. So here's the secret. It comes from a really cool story. Tracy met this successful guy, Koppmeyer, who had studied over 1,000 principles for success. And when Tracy asked him, what's the single most important one, Koppmeyer gave him this exact definition of self-discipline. And what Koppmeyer said was amazing. He said, look, without self-discipline, none of the other 999 principles matter at all. But with it, they all start to work. It's the master key that unlocks every single door. But here's the thing, getting this key isn't easy, not at all. Because every single day, you're in a constant fight with two huge internal enemies that are always trying to drag you back to just being average. So, your first enemy is what's called the path of least resistance. It's that natural human instinct to just take the easy way out. The second one is the expediency factor, and that's our desire to get what feels good right now without any thought for what happens later. Seriously, every day is a battle between doing what's easy and doing what's right. So how in the world do you win that war? You need a weapon. You need a solid plan of attack. And lucky for us, Tracy gives us a really simple but incredibly powerful 7-step method to build that discipline muscle for setting goals. But first, get this. Research shows that only about 3% of adults have clear written goals. And get this, that tiny 3% earns more than the other 97% combined. That's the kind of power we're talking about here. Just think about that for a second. The simple, disciplined act of taking a goal out of your head and writing it down on paper. That alone increases your chances of achieving it by 1,000%. 1,000! It turns a fuzzy wish into a real target. That's why he calls it the master skill of success. And here it is, the battle plan. Step 1, decide exactly what you want. Be specific. Step 2, write it down. Make it real. 3, set a deadline. This puts a little healthy pressure on your brain. 4, make a list of everything you need to do to get there. 5, organize that list into a real plan. Now, the last 2 are absolutely crucial. Step 6, take action on something, anything, on your list immediately. And 7, do something every single day that moves you even a tiny bit closer to that big goal. But here's the twist. Actually getting the things you want, the money, the success, that's not the ultimate prize. The real reward for all this hard work, all this discipline, it's something way deeper. The real point is this. To achieve something you have never achieved, you have to become someone you have never been. The process of building self-discipline literally changes your character from the inside out.
It makes you a better person.
And these are the true rewards. Every time you choose discipline over the easy way out, your self-esteem goes up. Every time you resist that temptation, your self-respect gets deeper. You start to build this incredible sense of personal pride. You literally construct a stronger, happier, more powerful version of yourself.
And all of this leads to a pretty simple truth. The kind of person you build on the inside, that's eventually going to show up on the outside. As Tracy puts it, your outer world is just a mirror, always reflecting the person you are on the inside.
There's this old story that just captures this daily choice perfectly. An elder is talking to his grandson, and he says, "There's a fight going on inside me. It's this terrible fight between two wolves. One is evil. It's anger, excuses, laziness. The other is good. It's joy, discipline, and truth."
So the grandson thinks about it for a minute and asks, "Grandfather, which wolf is going to win?" And the old man just replies, "The one I feed." Every single day, you are choosing which of those wolves to feed.
So in the end, it all comes down to a choice. The easy path or the disciplined one, excuses or progress. So the real question is, what are you going to choose to feed today?